What's going on, you guys? Brandon from Vegas here. As always, I am joined by Boomer Bill. And today, we are going to teach you guys how to make money buying your first home. Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I'm glad to be here. Let's have some fun today. I mean, we are getting close to Christmas, aren't we?
It is close to Christmas. Right now is actually the best time to buy a home because a lot of families are focused on buying overpriced gifts for their kids. Hey, my parents did it, right? Looking back, one of the biggest mistakes that I would have made is overspending on Christmas presents, especially if you don't own a home. I tell people all the time, your kids aren't going to remember the toy you bought them at 7 or 8 years old, right? They like the bubble wrap more. What they will remember is growing up in the same house and maybe inheriting that house when they turn in their 20s, right? That'll mean a lot more than whatever Christmas presents you got. There's a lot of pressure on parents to buy Christmas presents, and I think it's such a great marketing and brainwashing tool from television. It's like, you got to buy the gifts. Your kids don't need those new toys.
I think a lot of it is just they like opening the presents.
It's
just the presents. They like opening it.
You like seeing it's a temporary joy, but guess what's a huge joy? Your kid inheriting that house when they turn 22. Your kid not having to rent a condo or a crappy apartment, right? It's a prolonged joy, right? It's not an instantaneous, oh, mom, thanks, right? But it's like, you as a parent, your job isn't quick. You're supposed to be teaching your kids. It's not about the quick temporary joys. It's about the long-term satisfaction, right? So again, now we're getting preachy. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but yeah, right now is one of the best times to buy a house simply because a lot of parents are trained to waste money on gifts, and you can swoop in and buy a house and give your kids something that's actually meaningful, right? Yeah. Now, one of the biggest things I keep hearing is that Las Vegas has become so much like California. You heard that, Bill?
Yes, it has become much like California.
One of the things, well, you think so?
Only because there's a lot of California people coming here.
They are. What if I told you it's still nothing like California because the FHA loan, so the minimum or maximum payments you can get in California, in Los Angeles, or Marin County, which is like San Francisco area, is $1.1 million.
That's crazy.
In Las Vegas, it's still sitting at $500,000. So we are half.
It's moving up.
We are
525.
Yeah. Well, we're still half of California,
yes.
right?
Yes.
I also wanted to point out to people, now I wish we could get this on the screen for you guys, but there are currently 200 homes under 400,000 in Las Vegas in good areas. So what I did is I've drawn a map. I call it my mom map. It's of all of the most equitable areas in Las Vegas. So we're talking about Aliante, Sky Canyon, Lone Mountain, Mountain's Edge, the Southwest, Green Valley, Henderson. I've narrowed all of those into a mom map, and I have put in the price range 400,000 and under. There are currently 187 homes under 400,000 in Las Vegas.
That's
right?
good. So why do you call it a mom map?
Because if my mom was going to move, these are the places that I would allow her to move to, right? We're talking about low crime rates, equitable housing, conveniences in shopping, things like that. All the things you're looking for in a house, right? As a realtor, we're not allowed anymore because of all of the political correctness. We are legally not allowed to tell you that this area is a bad area or a good area, or we can't do any of that, right? Because they're afraid of redlining. They're afraid of all the civil rights legislation that comes with it. But I can tell you, hey, look, if my mom was going to move, this is where I'd move my mom. I don't want to move you anywhere that I wouldn't move my own family, right? So if you're a first-time buyer and you're scared away because you think, one, there's no more good houses under 500,000, that's wrong. And two, a lot of people still think they need $400,000 in cash. I had a woman who messaged me today who was like, oh yeah. She's like, do you have any houses for rent? I said, why would you rent a house? You're setting yourself back forever. Well, I don't have $400,000 to buy a house. I said, you need like $14,000 to buy a house, right? You need 7 months of what you're going to be paying in rent, maybe 6 months, So Bill, let's walk first-time buyers through the modern home buying process and what it's actually going to cost them and how they can make money from this, right?
Yeah. So it's really simple. I call it the CIA analysis. Credit, income, assets. You need those three things to get a mortgage. And we look at what their credit is. And in general, FHA has a qualifying FICO score of 580 and above. I know you want it to be more. Number two, we look at their income and are they employed? Do they have stable employment? And number three, how much money do they need for the down payment? And on a $400,000 house, you said it right around $14,000.
Right around $14,000.
And you do need money for closing costs. But right now, we've got some right now negotiated.
Yeah.
$10,000 seller paid closing costs, $12,000 seller
yeah.
paid closing costs. It's happening all the time. But to get into the game, you just need that money for the down payment. It's nice to have the extra in case you find the house, your dream house. But there's a lot of different sources of money to get tap into for that down payment.
100%. Never. I tell people, never let down payment be the reason that you don't buy a house. That's just another excuse. In Las Vegas, we have what's called the Home is Possible program, where it provides up to 4% of your loan amount towards the down payment. So whatever your loan is, so let's say, quick example, guys, I know math isn't your favorite subject, but let's say you're buying a $400,000 house, your loan amount is $386,000. They will 1% is, oh, that's me. Sorry, guys. That's me. Just forgot to silence my phone today. 1% is $3,860, right? Times 4, you're looking at close to 16 grand, right? For your down payment and closing costs. So not only can you get your down payment covered, they can also contribute some to your closing costs. So again, now that's out of the way, right? A lot of times what we find is people are scared away by the numbers because they don't know what's out there. So it's our job to kind of educate them on that, right? Yeah. So credit, income, assets, this is what they need up front, right? But if their goal is to make money, we have to take areas that make money into account, right? So every city is going to be different, but the one unifying factor that I tell all people is wherever women feel comfortable and safe to live is going to be the most valuable area. So for instance, you ask any woman moving to Las Vegas or who lives in Las Vegas, where do you want to live? If you could live anywhere in Las Vegas, where would you go? Summerlin, Green Valley. Why? Because they know these areas are safe. They know these areas have quality schools. They know these areas have the things they're looking for, right? Guys, I hate to tell you this, but wherever women want to live is always going to be the most valuable area, right?
Yeah.
Period. Wherever you see Targets, Starbucks, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Sprouts, yeah, right?
Yeah.
These big companies have already done their research. They know who their customer is. They know who their clientele is. They know what areas have the most people who fit what they're looking for.
Right.
They've done the work for you. All you have to do is follow their lead.
Well, I was a real estate appraiser prior to getting into this mortgage industry. And so the very first thing they talk about, Brandon, is location. You got to find the best location. And it could be a house in a neighborhood that you kind of want to buy the lower end house instead of the upper end house in a particular neighborhood.
You're leaning in on number 2.
Oh, am I leaning in on number 2? Okay, I'll be quiet then. No, but location. So be really aware of that when you go to buy.
Well, the problem is, and this is how I teach online. I say, okay, everybody knows location. Okay, what's the best location? That's the funny thing. No one ever wants to come out and tell you the best location, right? They'll always say, real estate's about location. Okay, great. What's the best location? Why is it the best location, right? For me, if you're going to really educate people, which is what our goal has been for 4 years now, is teaching them the truth, the reality. I've seen your house. I've seen your neighborhood. A lot of women would want to live there, okay? It's gated. It's got golf. It's nice, right? It's a comfortable place. Your wife loves living there, right?
Yes.
That's why it's valuable.
I did not find my house. My wife found my house.
Come on.
Our house.
Don't worry. She's busy with the kids. She ain't watching, right? But people aren't taught this. Wherever women choose to live, want to live, that's the best location. Period. End of story. Your neighborhood is only as valuable as the women who want to live there. Other than that, it's dead.
And I would say too, also that the location is dependent upon what you can afford, right? So depending upon what you would be able to qualify for, when you go in to look at that particular area, you're going to want to look at the location of what you can afford, the best location in that particular place.
You're right, which leads us to number 2. You're looking for the cheapest house in the nicest neighborhood.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
Our most common buyer nowadays are millennials. And millennials are making one big mistake in real estate. We're going to clip this, Austin. You ready? Millennials are falling for this one simple trick in real estate, and it's costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars. They think their first house has to be this magical Zillow flip house because they're afraid of a little work. They're afraid of learning, right? I have found millennials are afraid of learning. They don't like it. They graduated from college or whatever, and they're like, I'm done learning. I'm never doing it again. So they want their first house to be low effort and perfect and flipped. And it's like, okay, but that's why you think your first house has to cost $600,000, right? Your first house is meant to be a learning process. You learn how to paint the house. You learn how to fix the sink. You learn how to place flooring. You learn how to do all the things your parents and grandparents did, right? Your grandparents weren't calling flippers. Now, Bill is a grandpa here, so he can verify this. Boomer Bill, when you were growing up, were there house flippers everywhere?
No.
Why?
Because they would go move into the house and they'd live in the house and then they'd outgrow the house and they'd go to the next house.
You go to the next house. Or you knew how to fix it up yourself.
Yeah. I did that like 5 times on my own. Bought the smallest house in a great neighborhood and I needed to fix it up a little bit, fixed it up, lived in it for 2 years, got the capital gains exemption out of the way so I wouldn't have to pay any capital gains on it because I sold after 2 years. And then I'd take that money and then I'd go to the next house. And I didn't keep that other house. I just moved up and I kept moving up. And that for me worked really well. So if you have a little handyman nature in you and you're willing to basically put a little hard work and effort into it and clean up and, you know, do the little bit of the landscaping and all this stuff, you can make money.
100%. But you have to be willing to learn that stuff. And I have found, I'm a millennial myself, right? I have found that our generation just doesn't want to do the work. We don't. I sell houses to a lot of millennials. And when I show them houses that I know are affordable in good areas, oh, that's old, that's ugly. We don't like the look of that. Okay, well then here's the house that's $100,000 more expensive that's been fixed up for you. Oh, we love that. It's beautiful. Okay, but that's why
you get your equity.
Yeah, you're not getting any equity. And that leads us to number 3. The reason we're telling you guys to buy the cheapest houses in the nicest neighborhood is to maximize your equity, right? When you buy the cheapest house in a nice neighborhood, let Susan across the street, who's bored and retired, let her spend $50,000 remodeling her home and driving up the price. You and Susan own the same home. So if she remodels her home and sells it for $100,000 more, congratulations, Susan just made your ass almost $100,000, right? You don't have to do those things, right? You could take the time and build your house. When you buy a house already flipped, Bill said it earlier, you've already spent your equity.
Yeah, the equity's already in it.
It's gone.
The previous owner made the equity.
Yeah.
You didn't improve it. I was going to throw something out there. When I was, back in the day, right? My Boomer Bill days, right? So we didn't have YouTube. So the fix it, how do you put floor down? How do you fix windows? How do you repair things? How do you do all that stuff? We didn't have any of the YouTube videos that, just do this, put it in here. And now you can really find good things and how to fix things, how to put tile in, how to lay brick, whatever it is you need to do to that house to make it better.
Yeah.
We didn't have that back then.
You got it now.
You got it now and you can do it. So, but it is hard work. It is. And you live through some of the construction, you live through some of the dust, but once you put that in there, it's sweat equity.
100%. You take a house that's the cheapest in the neighborhood, right? You do the painting. You do the fixing upping. We just did this in my house, okay? The painter tried to charge us $4,000 to lime wash just our living room. Not the ceiling, just the living room. And we said, no, that's crazy. right? So we went out and bought a gallon of paint and did it ourselves. Bill, we didn't even use half a gallon of paint to paint my whole living room. So instead of $4,000, it cost us what? Half a gallon of paint, a couple of paintbrushes, and sweat equity.
And some time.
And sweat equity. We just saved $4,000 right there.
Yeah.
Right? And then we painted the ceilings, which would have been another $4,000.
I know. We were looking at those ceilings. Those ceilings came out nice.
They came out great.
Yeah.
So we saved $8,000 just on paint, right? Now imagine if we tried to buy that house already lime washed, already upgraded. We would have had to spend $40,000, $50,000 more dollars. Well, there goes our equity.
There's a premium.
How are you going to make money off of your house when you're buying it already flipped? You're buying it when you buy a flipped house on Zillow, you're already buying at the top of the market, right? It's already all the equity's been sucked out and put into flipping the house.
The other thing that I want to point out too is that when people go into homes right now, they don't, so many people just cannot visualize a piece of crap looking good.
Yeah.
Right. And so when they go in, they're like, oh God, this thing, oh my goodness.
That's because they killed millennials' imagination.
So if you're going to shop for a house, make sure you find somebody like Brandon that can actually get in there and really tell you, oh, you could take this wall down, you could do this, you could paint this color, you could improve this, so that there's an imagination when you go into it, because that's where you gain the equity is by doing it yourself. Some of it, doing it yourself.
100%.
Or finding the right people to help you with it.
100%. So you've gone out there, right? You followed step one. You followed step two. You found the cheapest house, nicest neighborhood. Okay, we found the house. We like what we're looking for. What do we do now? We got to buy it. We need a loan. A lot of people, because they don't teach real estate, they go, okay, let's go to the bank. Let's get the loan. Guys, the bank hates you. Going back to the bank is going back to an abusive boyfriend or the girl who cheated on you with your best friend. Going back to the bank is like going back to somebody who hates you. So you're not going to get your loans from the bank. You're going to get your loans from a local mortgage lender, someone like Bill. Bill, what states do you work in?
I work in all 50 states.
Bill works in all 50 states, right? So you're going to go to a local mortgage lender, someone who actually cares about you, someone who's not trying to screw you over, and that's where you're going to get your loan from. One of the big things I like to teach them, Bill, is people ask, why can I rent for so much more than I can buy? And I tell them it's because Bill cares about you. Bill has to make sure that what you make per month can cover the mortgage and all the stupid crap that you buy, right? Bill and I both know you guys aren't going to stop spending your money on stupid crap. You're going to keep watching TV. You're going to keep traveling. You're going to keep buying dumb stuff. So Bill has to make sure that you can afford all your dumb purchases and your mortgage, right? So please, when you go to get your loan, speak to Bill first. Speak to a mortgage lender first. Bill, are you just going to shove a loan down their face, or is there a process to this?
No, there's a whole process. It's a pre-approval process, and we go through essentially getting an application. We run their numbers. We show them basically in front of them what they can actually afford on a mortgage payment. And then many people will have their own personal budget. So what they can qualify for versus what their personal budget may be different, and it may be less, right? But we find out where their sweet spot is in terms of getting a mortgage, and then they go shop. They go find a home.
They get to do the fun thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody wants a mortgage. Who wants a friggin' mortgage, right? But the home, you do, Austin? You don't really. But you want to find the home. The mortgage is the end to the home.
There you go. People need to understand the mortgage is about the money that you borrowed. I teach people all the time. They're like, well, Brandon, why leasing a car and owning a house is the same? They're both financed. I said, bro, when you lease a car, can you paint it and change the engine and do all that stuff? No, because you don't actually own it. You're leasing it. When you finance a home, guys, you own the home. The mortgage is for the money that you borrowed. Okay.
Think about all the stuff you've done to your property.
Yeah.
Which was brand new.
Yeah.
Right? You've done a lot of stuff to it.
We have.
And it's fun.
Because we own it.
Yeah.
Did I have to borrow money to get it? Sure. But the people I borrowed money from don't want the home. The people I borrowed money from don't want the home. They want me to pay the interest, but they don't want the home. The home is mine. A lot of people have this idea that like, oh, I have a mortgage on the home. No, you have a mortgage on the money you borrowed to get the home. The house is yours. You own it. You can paint it. You can change the furniture. You can rip out the step. You can do whatever you want. You own that home. Okay. So you've chosen a great location, step one. You found the cheapest houses in the nicest neighborhood in that area, step two. You've contacted Bill, your local mortgage superstar, and you've gotten the loan that works best for you, step three. Okay, great. You know how much you can afford. You know what the house's mortgage is going to be. Now it's time to do the fun thing. Go look for the home. Go find that home.
That's
right?
the fun part. Yep.
When you're buying a home, this is some deep shit. You ready for this, Bill?
I'm ready. I'm going to point it over here.
We're going highbrow, okay? We're going a little highbrow. You don't realize it. We're going to clip this, Austin. You ready for this? Most of you don't realize it, but you have been trained, brainwashed since you were a young kid to care more about the bank and the government's money than your own money. And buying a house can prove it. What do you guys focus on when you buy a house? The list price. What do you guys not care about? The closing cost. Why? The list price is the bank's money. You're borrowing 97% of what the house cost. That's the bank's money. That's the lender's money, right? But you guys care more about that number than the closing cost, which comes out of your own pocket. That's what they don't tell people. Your loan that you're getting doesn't cover the closing cost. No. That loan covers the cost of the home. You have to cover the closing cost. So looking to negotiate, I need $20,000 off the list price. Why? That's the bank's money. You're borrowing it from them. What you need is $20,000 in closing costs because that keeps money in your pocket. Bill, tell them just a few of the things that we can do with other people's closing cost money.
Well, there's a lot of things you can do. Essentially, with interest rates where they're at right now, you can you don't have to have two sets of closing costs. So when you buy the home and you have the seller pay your closing costs for you, when rates drop, you go refinance into a lower rate. You can do what's called a 2-1 buy down, where the interest rate is 2% lower in the first year, then 1% lower in the second year. And it gives you some breathing room in the first couple of years as you get settled in your home. You can also do a permanent buy down. So it gives you a ton of options to really get a mortgage payment to where you need it to be and feel comfortable with.
100%. So you can buy down your interest rate with the seller's money.
Yes.
You can do a 2-1 buy down with the seller's money. You can pay off your HOA for a year with the seller's money. You can pay off property taxes with the seller's money. You can pay off sewer, water, trash with the seller's money.
You can fund your impound account with the seller's money.
You can take all that. What Bill says, a lot of you don't know this. Bill, tell them what an impound account is.
So your mortgage payment consists of principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. The taxes and insurance portion of it goes into a separate account that's your account. So when those bills come due and payable every year, they have enough money of your money because they're collecting every single month, taxes and interest every single month. So you can fund it for the year. You can fund it into that account so you don't have to come up with those monies.
A lot of y'all don't realize Bill just dropped a gem on you. A lot of you don't know that your money is impounded. A large part of your closing costs is money that they impound to ensure that your taxes and insurance gets paid for the first, few months of owning the property. You can take that closing cost money and make the impound account fat, which means, man, for like the next year and a half, don't worry about property taxes. Don't worry about insurance. You've already paid that in advance. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So when you buy, you got a homeowner's insurance policy.
Yes.
You have to pay that for the first year.
Yes.
And then you got to pay about 3 months for the next year. So that because the next payment is due a year from now and you'll have enough money in there and you just prepay that.
About 2 years ago, we once got a seller to give us so much money in closing cost that escrow called me and said, "Hey, look, we've got
too much.
We've got extra money." And I'm like, no, we don't. There's no such thing as extra money. I said, "Did you pay off the HOA?" She goes, "I mean, yeah, for like 5-6 months." I said, "Pay it off for the year." I said, "What else can we do with the money?" We used every penny of that money, buying the rate down, paying off the HOA, funding the impound account. Man, for the first year, my clients didn't have to pay shit. And it felt great, It felt great. And I'm telling you guys, don't worry about the list price. That's the bank's money focused on closing costs. That keeps money in your pocket. What's more important? $15,000 down the road when you sell the house, or $15,000 in your pocket that you can go put on red tomorrow. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
And I love how you negotiate this every single deal.
Yep.
You may not get it every single deal, but how you do it, how you go about it is brilliant.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're a master negotiator, and you have really, I mean, I see it every single day. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We make agents make tough decisions. That's our goal right now. All right. So you found the best location, found the cheapest house in the best neighborhood. You've talked to Bill to get your FHA loan. You've negotiated closing costs because you're a smart, sophisticated buyer, right?
Yes.
You close on your home. Now what? You close on your home. It's your home now. You've got your home, right? You paid off the rest of your down payment. You use your closing cost money to close cheaply. Okay, it's your home. You moved your furniture in. The kids picked their own bedrooms. Okay, now what? Now what? What do I do? Right? You've worked so hard to get this thing. Now what do you do?
I would go buy some paint just like you did. I would start fixing it up. I would start cleaning. I'd start looking at the landscaping. I'd start looking at whatever that I could do to improve the value of that particular home.
Improve the value of the home is one of the best ways to put it, because a lot of you have never heard this before. A lot of you think the American dream is just living in a home. No, brother, you can live in a home in Italy. You can live in a home in Mexico, Argentina. You can live in a home anywhere. Owning land and profiting from that land is the American dream. Okay? It's not about living in a house. They've told you guys this because they don't want you guys to know the truth. It's the ownership of the land beneath the house and the house itself that you can profit off of. So the second you move into that house, you have one goal, and it's how do I make the most profit off of this house? Bill told you guys earlier what he did. He lived in a house. The second it gained enough equity, he sold it, bought a bigger, more expensive house, lived in it till it gained enough equity, bought a bigger, right? He upgraded that way. Now that is one way to do it. If you live in a house for 2 years, you can avoid capital gains tax, right?
Correct.
So there are a lot of people out there, a lot of them, who buy a house, live in it for 2 years, wait for that capital gains tax, boom, sell it. Repeat this process over and over and over, because houses in America gain so much equity that you can legitimately profit this way.
Correct.
Right? There's another way though, Bill.
There is.
There's another way.
I've done that way too.
What? There we go. So firsthand, Bill, what is another way that people can profit from buying their first home?
They can buy it. They can then live in it. They can then rent it and buy another house after they've been in the house for at least 2 years.
This is how you get rich like boomers, guys. That's in fact the name of this episode. How to get rich like boomers. Buying houses. Because truthfully, this is how they did it. The world doesn't want you guys to know this, but this is how they did it. This is how they turned $60,000 houses into $800,000 houses, right? And it's realizing that your house is an asset. It is a business, and you have to treat it like such. If you don't take care of your business, if you let your business get messy, dirty, if you don't pay the taxes, your business will fall apart. Same thing with your house. Businesses have to constantly upgrade. McDonald's has to keep coming up with new menus. They have to redesign the interior, right? Wendy's doesn't look now like it did 20 years ago. Your business has to stay upgraded. So does your house. Right? But when you moved into your house with your 3% or 3.5% down payment, you needed 20% to make it an investment property. Well, you've already got 3%. How do I get to that other 16.5 or 17%, right? How do we get there, Bill? I don't have 20% down to make it an investment house, but I do have 3.5% down to buy the house. Okay, I bought the house. How do I make this house an investment?
Well, if they buy the house and they bought it for their primary residence, right, it will be their primary residence. If they move in 2 years, I would recommend 2 years just because you have the ability to potentially avoid capital gains on a sale of a primary residence.
Mm-hmm.
But if they keep that home, they don't have to get a new mortgage. They don't have to. They can go buy a new home with 3.5% down or 5% down. So they don't have to like have that 20% equity to buy an investment property. They're living in the investment property, and then they're buying their new primary residence.
100%.
Is that what you were asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So there's an easier way to get to 20% down. Now, simpler, right? Having money for 20% down is the easiest way, but a lot of us don't have that.
A lot of us
right?
don't
A lot
have
of
it.
us
And
don't
it's,
have that.
it's hard to save money.
It is. Bill, the average house in Las Vegas went up by 6% during one of the worst interest rate periods in the past 10 years.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just take, we're not even going to use a good period. We're going to use the worst interest rates of the past 10 years. Vegas houses gained 6% equity, right? Okay. So you have 3% that you put down. You stay in it for 1 year, 6% equity, 9.5%. 9.5%, right?
Yep.
Stay in it 1 more year, 15.5%. If you can save that last 4.5%, if you can save it, you've hit your 20%, right? In 2 years, you now have 20% down to reinvest into the house. Now it's an investment property, right? They don't teach people that you can convert your FHA loan into by refinancing, you convert it into an investment loan. Why don't they teach people this, Bill?
Well, they don't because they don't understand it. They don't know how to do it. And so refinancing into a conventional mortgage allows you to actually go back and use a new FHA mortgage on your next house. So they essentially are trying to refinance their existing home into a conventional and then free up the monies for a new FHA loan.
Yeah.
Now, conventional mortgages, though, Brandon, you can do on if it's a primary residence and you're not a first-time home buyer, you can put 5% down. So it's not that much different in regards to a first-time home buyer versus you're buying a second or third or fourth home. You can still put 5% down. So, and when you get into the house, you become more financially savvy. It just,
you have
honestly,
to.
you just, because
to.
you know, I've got this obligation I got to pay. So then you start actually looking at retirement. You start looking at other things and investing there. I just met with a client that has like $20,000 for down payment and closing costs, but he needs about $30,000, right? Lo and behold, because he's been working at his job, he's got a 401k that he can easily tap into $10,000 tax-free to use for the house, or just get a 401k loan where they're paying themselves back. So it's just trying to understand and get educated.
Sorry, guys. My wife goes through the silencer. My wife goes through silence.
I love it.
Yeah. She set up my phone so that even when I put it on silence, her number goes straight through. Yeah. She's a savage. No, but people think that building a real estate empire or building a investment portfolio, they think, oh, I can only do this if I'm rich. No. If you are diligent at saving money, you can start with a 3.5% down FHA loan. And every 2 to 3 years, again, your city may vary. If you're in Los Angeles, you may have that equity in a year and a half, right? If you're in San Francisco, you may have that equity in 6 months. Like San Francisco is insane, right? But houses in America are making so much equity, Bill, that in 2 to 3 years with diligent saving and equity, a lot of people can refinance that FHA loan into an investment property, right? And now, and this is, I love it. This is why I get excited.
Well, I'm going to get really excited too. So, but you go first.
Okay. When you bought your first house, you had your income from your job, and that was all you had to support your home buying, okay? When you convert your first FHA loan into an investment property, you now have your job making income and your investment property making income. So now you have 2 sources of income to pump into the second house, right? Well, if it took you 2 to 3 years to save on the first house with one job, how quickly do you think you're going to get 20% when you have that same job plus an investment property pumping extra money every month?
Yeah,
Right?
it's going to be a lot quicker.
So then you refinance that second house in, let's say, a year and a half, 2 years. Great. Now, when you go to buy your third house, you have 2 investment properties and your job pumping money into the third house. How quickly do you think you're going to, right? You guys, buying houses becomes not cumulative, because cumulative does work, but it's like a compounding effect, right? They all are producing equity. So you're not only making cash flow and rental income, they're producing equity. So now you have 1 house producing the equity, 2 houses producing equity, 3 houses. Rich people have so much equity in their houses, they can just take equity from 1 house to buy the next house.
So a lot of it is leverage. They call it leverage. And this is a key. Like if you're saving money, and let's say you've been super diligent, you haven't bought a home, you've saved up $20,000. That $20,000, you have 2 choices, right? You could deposit that and maybe put it into the stock market and make 10% on that $20,000. That'd be $2,000 a year. You feel like, okay, God, 10%, that's pretty good. Some are like trying to get, sky to the moon.
Everybody wants NVIDIA.
But that's
everybody wants NVIDIA. Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often. If you look at the average return, you can't plan on that. That's a gamble. That's a gamble, right? But if you put that into a house, you're buying that $20,000 investment actually becomes a $400,000 investment because you bought a $400,000 asset, which is the house. And that $400,000 appreciates last year around 6%, right?
Yep.
$24,000 versus $2,000. So you're leveraging your money. And that's how the rich people do it. They just leverage their money. They take money from one asset to another, borrow against it, and they just kind of keep switching it out.
Never using their own money.
They're not using all their own money.
Imagine a scenario where now you have 4 investment properties. One you've had for 10 to 12 years, right? Which has been generating equity the whole time. It's your baby. It's your machine. But because you keep buying more expensive houses, because obviously when you bought your first house, you had 1 income. Well, shit, now you got 4 investment properties and your job. Hopefully you've gotten a raise by now. Now you've got the ability to buy bigger houses, which generate more equity, right? You're no longer buying $300,000, $400,000 houses. Now you're buying $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 houses. Now you're generating 6% equity. Your equity goes from $24,000 to $48,000, right? You're starting to generate some real money.
Real dollars.
Well, guess what? As house number 4 hits its equity, houses 1, 2, and 3 are still generating equity on the back end, right? And more importantly, your rental numbers are going up. That $400,000 house may only rent for $2,200, $2,300, whatever. That $800,000 house, you might be pulling in real numbers now, right? And this is how, with just 3.5% down at a start, you can start generating a second career for yourself. Forget a side hustle. This is legitimate income that can start what people's favorite word, generational wealth, right? Real estate has built more millionaires because the process starts so cheaply. To start investing in the stock market, you either need to be really smart or have a lot of money. In real estate, you really don't need either. You need 3.5% down and a good realtor and a good lender.
Real estate doesn't go anywhere.
No.
It's always going to be there. It's going to be sitting on the land that you bought and that you own. And it's a great investment.
Sure. If you had stocks in Sears or in Blockbuster, you probably thought, oh, these companies are never going to go anywhere, right? Businesses come and go. I know people don't like to hear this, but businesses come and go.
They do.
Houses, they're not really going anywhere. People are always going to want the safety
of their walls. There's a shortage of them right now.
And there's a shortage of them. So making money in real estate is a 5-step process. Is it easy? No. Anybody who looks you in their face and tells you it's easy either is smarter than us or has a lot more money. It's a challenge. It's discipline. It's suffering. It's sacrifice. It's giving up a lot of the fun and entertainment. But it's simple. It's a 5-step process. Finding the best location, finding the cheapest house in that great location, speaking to a lender to get a loan, negotiating closing costs, and then saving enough money to refinance in 2 to 3 years. These are your goals. This is how you make money. It's not a secret. It's not something we're gatekeeping. It's not rocket science. You have to do the work. You have to be disciplined. You have to save. But that's how you make money in every single field. Real estate, to me, is just one of the easier ones. So, Bill, what's the best way for them to reach you, for them to start their financial journey?
Yeah, best way to reach me is at billgaylord.com. That's my website. You can get a free consultation. If you want to understand what your CIA, credit income asset analysis is, we'll go through it. And I'd love to help you get into a home.
Yep. And as always, I'm Brandon from Vegas. You guys can reach me in the contact form listed in the information link below. You can find me on Google, Zillow, Instagram, TikTok, wherever. Just type in Brandon from Vegas. All my links pop up. I will help anybody at any time. We do a free real estate class every morning on Instagram and TikTok at 10 a.m. Pacific, to be specific. So jump in there Monday through Friday, and we'll go over the same things there. And yeah, if you guys have any questions that weren't answered, or if you guys want us to follow up with anything, leave a comment below. Bill and I go through the YouTube comments, and we will gladly help anybody with any comments or questions. Bill, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Brandon.
As always, guys, come and be my neighbor. Peace.